My name is David Kaplan. I'm the Vice President of Goal Team Management, and we're going to talk about reasons to evict a tenant. The first notice that we normally give a tenant is what's called a 10-day notice for non-payment of rent or utilities. So we do the rent roll on the first of the month. If the rent is not paid, we will generally contact the tenant and find out why the rent is not paid, and we would then issue what's called a 10-day notice for non-payment of rent. The reason why it's called a 10-day notice is that the tenant has 5 days in order to pay the rent, and if they haven't paid in those 5 days, they have 5 days to vacate. If they don't vacate, then we'll follow on with the eviction process. The other reason why we can ask a tenant to move is called a 2-month notice, and what that generally refers to is when owners want to take possession of their property. So if a property has been sold or an owner just wants to move back into their property, they are required to give a tenant 2-month notice in order to vacate. Along with that, they also are required to pay the tenant 1 month compensation for asking them to move. So the third reason we can evict a tenant is for cause. It's generally a material breach of the tenancy agreement. So the tenant has either caused damage to the property, they've allowed too many occupants in the property, they've illegally sublet it, things that are considered a material breach of the tenancy agreement. Once the tenant has been given sufficient warnings that they need to improve or correct the behavior, and if they still haven't done that, you can then issue them with a 1 month notice for cause. And once again, if they haven't vacated at the end of that notice, then we can follow the eviction process.